Chuck and Dorothy, you know.
Well, nice seeing you again. Yeah, great. Actually,
Nothing. Seems like it's on already. I just have.
Yes, I am.
Fine. Busy, busy.
nope, that's not it either.
We're supposed to sign in? Yeah. Over there. Vicky and Alan. And you.
Going through the food line, but that's fine. Go right ahead and fill up your plates. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and kick off the festivities for tonight. My name is Chuck Spooner, and I'm Dorothy's former boss as of today. And we want to start with some introductions. First of all, I want to introduce our president and CEO, Brian Strong. Best for last. And now turning to the head table, and I think we may have some of Dorothy's family over in the food line. So we have Dorothy's son, Steve Shiro. Steve, wherever you are, wave to us. There he is. And we also have Dorothy's son, David, and his wife, Nancy. And then finally, somewhere in the crowd is the fella that Dorothy refers to as her favorite Italian gardener, Tony Shiro. Tony. Now, also tonight, we want to do something maybe a little bit different. Everyone here who is a retired Roseville telephone employee, please stand up. All you golden retirees. This is a night to honor and look forward to retirement for some of us. and so we wanted to honor those folks. Okay, we've got a slam bang program for you tonight. And we're going to start, our first speaker, we're going to start right at the very top. And this is a guy who I think we can safely say has brought a bold new vision to our company. And in his tenure, since he's been here and since he's put together his management team, he's created a cohesive mission statement and a statement of our core values. And we've gone into exciting new lines of business, such as Roseville Directory Company, Roseville Long Distance, RCS Wireless, and soon to be in business with our CLEC company, RCS Digital. And like I said, this is a real dynamic vision that he's had for our company. Brian, is this enough apple polishing here?
That guy sums up good.
So welcome our President and CEO, Brian Strong.
Gosh, I always knew I liked Chuck. That's amazing. Speaking of people I like, I see Dorothy sitting real close here. And actually, our kids, my kids, went to school with Dorothy and Tony's kids, so our knowledge of Dorothy, Tony, and their family goes back to prior to my official Roseville telephone days. I did have some of those unofficial Roseville telephone days as the auditor, but I'll forget those if you'll forget those. At any rate, my comments are brief tonight. I understand that this could be a roast, and so I'm going to get the heck out of here before I get my ass burned. But Dorothy, would you please come up? I have something here from Brian personally, as well as the board of directors. I think it was Janie Oakridge said earlier tonight, it was probably Janie, that might as well give her credit, that she was one of the few people who retired before Mark Scholl did. Other folks around here wanted to make sure they waited for him to retire so that the benefits would accrue large enough. And I don't want to pick on Mark Scholl, but I will anyway. One of the small things that the company has done is they had a retirement gift that the board would give out that used to be $10 per year of service. And that's why so many of our people waited for being around here for 40 years. They just $10 times 10 years just didn't cut it. And the other reason people stayed around here for 40 years is that Bob made them do it. Dorothy, however, is getting off at just short of 20 years for good behavior. So Dorothy, with that, on behalf of the management committee and the board of directors, thank you very much for your years of service in helping make this the greatest company, greatest phone company in the world.
Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate Brian being here tonight. The rest of the management committee is on the road. They're out and about. Okay, our next speaker, I've been working very closely with for the last several months. And it's kind of like having a conscience sitting right up here on your shoulder, just constantly reminding you of things, stuff that you ought to do, And these reminders typically come in the form of emails, and when I look at the timestamps, the emails are timestamped 1 a.m., 1:45, 2:45, and I ask myself, man, does this girl sleep? What is up with this? At any rate, let's welcome Karen Williams.
this path of asking them about what computers were like way back when Dot started, and that was kind of fun, but I got bored with it, and frankly, it didn't mean a lot to me. So I came last night. I thought maybe I'd start writing something to figure out what I was going to say, and what it came down to is I thought I'd better talk from experience. So what I have noticed about you, Dot, is that you're pretty much the welcome wagon. You're the lady that you're the new guy on the block, and sooner or later, Dot kind of meanders over to you. Not with directions like how to get to the bathroom, nothing real practical. She doesn't tell you how to work your computer, how the security clearance stuff works, none of that. She shows up, and before you know it, you've pretty much divulged your whole life to her. But she does it without you feeling like you've been interrogated. There's other people in our department that aren't quite that smooth at this whole thing. And we all know who those are. But Dot's really, really smooth, and so you've told her your whole life story, and hopefully you're not in tears, and you're still back there at your desk, and sooner or later she ends up inviting you to her home. And that's nice. That's really nice. So you feel like you're really this special treasured person. But I got to tell you, what I've really noticed is that Dot tends to bring home the consultants. And I think what it is about these consultants is they're kind of, they're kind of homeless. I mean, generally they're away from they're away from home. Their wives or their husbands or somewhere else with their kids, whatever, and they're kind of pitiful. And so she kind of takes them in and takes care of them and really makes them feel warm and fuzzy, and that's great. But one of the things I've really noticed is that these consultants all tend to be men. I'm thinking there's some correlation. I'm not going to go any further. Now I'm going to go into the next subject that came up was barbecues, your barbecues. So part of this bringing home the homeless is these barbecues, and they're great. She has this annual barbecue, and I know many of you have been to them, and generally they're barbecues for everybody in the department. Data processing, now we're called information services. And it's an open invitation to everybody. She gives us a short list of stuff to bring. And then there tend to be other people that she invites that aren't in the department. I don't know how she decides who gets to come. I don't know. She just, sometimes you get to come. And there's somebody there that we've never really, had ACRs from. So I've gone back, looked a little bit. Barbara, I don't know if you've ever come to any of those barbecues because you've done a lot of ACRs. We even have a couple up there on the board just so we can bring them right home. The other thing about these barbecues is that they're really relaxed. They're really casual, really nice. It's kind of a potluck thing. The only issue that I've noticed is that IS people are real structured people. And you get us in this relaxed environment, and we're kind of like fish out of water. All Dot tells you is, don't park in the garden. Put your food over there, and that's about it. So you're kind of sitting around, and then you start looking around, so everybody else looks about as awkward as you do. Not sure quite how we're supposed to be social, what we're supposed to do, but ends up that it's more fun to watch the new people because they seem to be the least, they don't know what to expect. And Dot tends to laugh a lot at these things, and I used to think it's because she was laughing at some cute story I was telling or something, but I've noticed that really she's laughing at everybody being really awkward. Maybe not. Maybe you weren't laughing at us. Speaking of laughing, Dot has and I think Ryan probably coined this phrase, Dot has a real low humor threshold, which means that it's real easy to roast her because she laughs at everything. But what's nice about that is you can be having a really crummy day, and you can kind of meander over to Dot, and you can be whining about your day, and she kind of looks at you knowingly like, yeah, been there, done that. And then you'll say something, and she'll laugh, and you'll think, God, I am so witty. Oh, life is good, and I can go on. It's all because Dot laughed at some stupid little comment you made. And I'm really thankful for your low humor threshold because it's really made me make it through the rest of the day a lot. I'm going to end my part, and I know we all had like 7 minutes, but I'm not going to do that. With a little buddy and all that good stuff, and you're laughing and smiling. The second one is envy. Frankly, it looks like a lot of fun. I want to go do all that stuff. I don't want to have all this timeline stuff either. So you'll have to keep me posted on that. And lastly is joy. I'm really happy for you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you're going to make the best of it. And I'm looking forward to being more available for babysitting. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. Now, our next speaker volunteered for this assignment, and he's been very much involved in the Toastmasters program that's been going on within the company. There's a group that meets, I think, every week. And I started thinking about this, and I bet he's getting extra credit for this. I think he almost has his black belt in Toastmasters. I think that's what he's going for here. And I also thought, well, maybe it's because, his name also ends in a vowel. Tolentino, Shiro, Italians, they kind of like to hang together, so I thought maybe that was it. But at any rate, whatever the reason, let's welcome Wayne Tolentino.
You're right, Chuck. For all those reasons. I'm here for two reasons today. First, I want to give a toast to Dorothy. Dorothy and Tony are probably two of the nicest people and most giving people I've ever met in my entire life. Well, you are what you are. Since my introduction to Dorothy, as Karen so blatantly pointed out, she does share her life, her friends, and her bounty. She makes you feel like one of the family, and this is a good thing, especially for us consultants, wanderers, homeless, beggars, whatever you want to call us. Minstrels of the good life. Her infectious laughter and keen sense of humor will be missed by those of us who live in the basement. And like trolls under the bridge. And I'm particularly going to miss her sharing of the goodies of Tony's hard work. The cherries, the good things in life. So Tony and Dorothy, have a pleasant retirement and a good rest of your life. And remember that happiness is something you experience. And now for the good stuff. How long have I known Dorothy? Long enough to know she's not really a nice person. Yeah, we got the sweet, innocent face, the giggles, the sharing of the good life, the sharing of the harvest of Tony's hard labor, which she says, oh, I work so hard at this stuff. Yeah, right, you turn the water on and say, Tony, go do your thing. When I first got there, like Karen said, she'll sit you down and she'll make you talk, and she kind of draws things out of you, but you also get things out of her. And we were talking when I first got there. She shared her work ethics and her principles in life. And then she said, these are my principles, and if you don't like those, I have others. Dorothy could be considered, where I come from in New York, a pusher. The first one is free. Here, little boy, try this batch of cherries. Or try these peaches. And after 4 years of this, you get hooked. And now that it's peach season, she's gone. What do? We have two choices. We can either, they're leaving town, go there in the middle of the night, midnight harvest, or, like some of us will have to do, buy it. God, what a disaster that's going to be. She's also responsible for the way people are in steerage. The basement. We wanted to call it the basement, as others have called it the wine cellar, but she forced us. She renamed it steerage, being demoted. They said that cream rises to the top, and Dorothy's been at the second floor for almost 20 years, and suddenly she's in the basement. That can tell you something about her. And Dorothy's, she makes us watch what we say, and watch what we do, and watch how we act. Only as a cover. She makes us cover for her when she comes in late and leaves early. Oh, I've got this doctor's thing. Oh, Tony's sick. He's gonna be in late. Or like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just I'm leaving, but if they say anything, I'm going to a meeting in industrial. Okay. Works for me. But the hardest part about living in the basement lately is the long lunches she's been taking. We really dread those. It's not the idea she's gone for whatever length of time. It's the idea she comes kind of reeling in and reeking of gin. And we please, Mom, please, don't drink anymore. Then she would laugh and lift out her flask and say, sit down, son. That's not the worst part about it. She would file the 900 numbers. And force us, and put it on speakerphone, and force us, Frank and Sammy and I would sit there just blushing like... And she'd sit there and giggle and point and say something dirty. And she would say something for us in her masculine voice. And it was demeaning. We felt used. Kind of like boy toys. And these picnics that Karen talked about, it's true. Dorothy does love the party out there. She starts her party early the day with Ernest and Julio, her best friends. And as the day progressed in the hot sun, she would still be with Ernie and Julie and doing their things. And as it got darker, she would still be partying hardier. And toward the end of the night, she would start doing table dances. Either the face down flop or the horizontal snooze with the Gallo brothers. I spent a New Year's Eve at Dorothy's one night, and she was preparing for retirement in those days because we celebrated midnight from New York City, which made it 9 o'clock in California. And she said, okay, it's midnight. Time to get out of here. But she's been a really good friend, and she's always been there. And to close it, I have this sincere wish for Dorothy that she's there on 3-day weekends when Sam, Frank, and I are out of town. Thank you, Dorothy.
Thanks. I think we'll give you your black belt after all. Okay. Our next speaker is Dorothy's great good friend and now her fellow retiree. And Dorothy confided in us at lunch today that of all the speakers on the program tonight, and we kind of shared the agenda with Dorothy, this is the one that she feared the most. So let's bring up Chris Bibbs.
I'll be kind. First of all, I don't think Wayne knows you very well. If he did, he'd know a half a glass of wine and you're under the table. Dorothy really is a hard person to roast. She's one of the nicest people at Roseville Telephone Company, so it's really, really hard to roast her. But I would like to share with you a couple of things that contribute to that popularity she has. Karen touched on one of them earlier. Dorothy really, really likes men. She flirts with men a lot, particularly married men. Now, if they're single, that's a different story. If they're single, Dorothy feels that they should be married. So she sets out to do a little matchmaking. Well, at least she used to. I don't know if you still do this or not, Dorothy, ever since the time that you decided to matchmake for one of our well-known programmers. There was a young lady who was working at Roseville Telephone Company on a consulting basis. know exactly how she does it. I think she kind of does some operant conditioning, you know, like Pavlov's dogs. And she has this little reminder. She slides into some section of her brain like a memory chip. And she has some kind of stimulus that kicks it off. And that's why whenever somebody wants to volunteer, her little memory chip kicks in. She says, I'll do it, I'll do it. And then she goes and does it, and she forgets all about doing it. So she keeps volunteering all the time. So that's why she gets this well-deserved reputation for volunteering. Same thing happens with the programs. You know, first it's out of the goodness of her heart, but then she forgets she invited them. So she keeps inviting them and inviting them. After a while, they've been around so long, she thinks they're family. So she adds them to her Christmas list and keeps in contact with them. I'm sure somewhere down in the next century, some of her descendants are going to be looking at a photo album and they're going to say, who's this? I think that was the third cousin once removed, great-great-grandmother Shiro. And I can answer Karen's question about the people that show up at the IS barbecue, you don't know who they are. It's because of her memory. If they were once there, she figures they belong. She's inviting them there every year after year. Now, if you don't believe this thing about the memory chip, I'm going to ask some of you. Last year at the IS barbecue, what did she call that?
Video retirement.
Video retirement party. Okay, the year before. What was it the year before? Video retirement party. What about the year before that? Right, the video retirement party. Every year she has a video retirement party. How long has video been retired? So long that some of you don't even really believe there's a video. Do you remember what video did? I know you do, Pat. Carol, key punch operator. Do you know how long it's been since we did a key punch card? Now you'd think somewhere along the way that Dorothy would start to wonder why video doesn't show up. Well, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to make her mad. Have you ever seen Dorothy mad? I have. And I'll tell you something. When you see somebody as short as Dorothy is leap from her chair and attack somebody as big as Rodriguez with a printout of computer code, with him cowering with his arms over his head, backing out of the room, while she's advancing, just flailing away. At that point, it strikes fear in your heart, and you decide you need to be someplace else. And looking at her now, I think I need to be someplace else.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, our next speaker is a really interesting guy. He's one of those homeless consultant types. And he's a passionate rugby player. And this is kind of interesting because today I got a note from some of his coworkers, and they said, Chuck, Sam has been acting a little strange. You know, please tell him he must wear a helmet when he plays rugby. I think he's had one too many scrums. Anyway, let's welcome Sam Riegel.
We really prefer the term yellow badger.
Dorothy, your phone rang at 8:20 this morning. I looked over at Wayne and started laughing. Who could possibly think that you're actually working today? Actually, she's here. It was Jan Brady. Personnel. She wanted to know if you were taking a vacation today or whether you intended to work. I told her, oh, you just stepped away from your desk for just a minute. Now, I've only known Dorothy for about 16 months, so I don't really have any really good stories from, like, the early years. I've heard a couple, but I don't want to tell anything secondhand because they might be coming up next. I don't really know. What are the things that I remember best about Dorothy? I remember the first time I had
and Dorothy at Luigi's. I remember the many Taco Tuesdays at the Elks Lodge in Auburn, where she would feel her cheeks to see how many margaritas she'd been drinking. She goes, oh, I better not have any more. I remember when you tripped over the chair in the break room with a huge pile of food right in front of Jay Kinder. He promised you new chairs, and we got new chairs. I remember when we went to Constable Jack's in Newcastle, home of the all-you-can-eat pasta bar and all-you-can-stand amateur blues band nights. The food was ready for prime time. The bands were not. I'll always remember eating some of the best-tasting tomatoes and cherries and raspberries and figs and persimmon that I've ever had in my life from the vineyards of Shiro. Now that I think about it, many of my fondest memories since I've been here involve you and food. It won't be the same down in steerage. Without your never-ending positive attitude and sense of humor, we're really going to miss you. Now for the nice stuff. 19 and a half years. Wow. You must have started here before child labor laws. I hope that all your years here have been as enjoyable as the last 16 months have been for me. It sure has gone by fast. I remember when you first told me that your last day was June 25th, 1999. It sounded so far away. I remember thinking I was sorry I wasn't going to be around to see it. Those of you who don't get that joke, gets me offline. I have two wishes for you and your best friend. Don't worry, be happy. I know that you and Tony are off globetrotting starting next week. This may be my last chance for a while to quote Bob Hope. Thanks for the memories.
Thanks, Sam. Our next speaker is a longtime Roseville employee. But I'm going to tell you something about him tonight that you probably don't know. He celebrates a holiday that most people don't even know about. It's called Spell Checker Day. This is true. This is the day that the first functioning spell checker was released and installed and working. And believe me, it saved this guy's career. Let's welcome Bob Rodriguez.
Well, Dot, as many of you know, Dot and I have been together for almost 2 decades. And in fact, I know Dorothy longer than I know my wife. What you may not know or not remember is that many years ago, we worked together on a project called Stockholder Records Tracking. Let me give you a little background. That project was one of the first prototypes we did back on our mainframe link system. Remember that? And it was the first online application that we had for the stockholder system. And when we were in there doing this, we had 3 walls filled with paper of how that system was supposed to work that we had taped up around the room where Jan and Carol sit today. There were times during that thing that Dot would vigorously defend and debate the deployments, techniques that we used, and I can't read my handwriting. I can't jump up here. I'm sorry. And you may have heard rumors about Dorothy when she was defending her code, and it's really true. and effective, and she has a heck of a good swing. And it can be deadly, too. I'm not sure, but I think she also coined the term hardware and software coexisting. So Dot, you could come up here for a second. I would like to present you with the original code from the stockholder system that we did it with. And in the spirit of IS, we have backup. You'll be missed. I just want to say, Dorothy, it's been a pleasure, it's been an honor, and you've warmed all of our hearts. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Was that really the original code? I believe that. Okay, our next speaker is like everybody's sister in the department. We all go to her with our problems, and she listens, and she helps us, and she keeps us out of trouble, and kind of keeps us on the straight and narrow. And I hate it when she's not there. You know, when she takes time off, things just don't work very well. And she generally makes herself indispensable, and that's Angie Thurston.
Dorothy, you don't know how many people came up and said, Angie, how are we going to roast Dorothy? I said, make up a story, say anything. But I don't have a speech, but I sent out numerous flyers to a lot of retirees and some of Dorothy's friends. So last week, Dorothy, I received this card from a dear friend of yours. And I'll just read part of it, and I'll give you the card. It says, the enclosed isn't exactly about Dorothy. It includes Tony too. If it is acceptable to you, can you read it for me? I thought this was hilarious. It says, Dear Dorothy, sorry I cannot attend your farewell party, but I want to contribute this little story. Dorothy and I met over 30 years ago. We were both hired to work in the supply department at Sloan Air Force Base. The Air Force Base had a program for inventory control as the base was applying for some material and was being an overhaul base. This was Dorothy's introduction to data processing. Dorothy and Tony were not married at that time. I didn't know much about their relationship. She had car trouble and was riding to work with Tony. I had seen Tony on numerous occasions and knew he wasn't very tall. I had worked at Aerojet, and two of the section heads were short men. They were also the most obnoxious, overbearing men I had ever met. So I was very opinionated in regards to short men. One rainy day, Dorothy told me she and Tony were talking about getting married. She wanted to know what I thought about it. I really didn't know what to say. Anyway, at quitting time, she asked me to look out the window to see if Tony was out there in the parking lot. There was Tony, dressed in his rain gear, measuring the water in the puddles and in the ditch. Like a little boy. I had to answer her question. Here is an adjusted man, short man, with no inhibitions. I went back and told her what I had seen, and also answered her questions in regards to marrying Tony. Fortunately, they have had a wonderful life together. Dorothy does everybody wants to go salmon fishing, Tony's the man to go with. He has a great experience fishing as a fisherman, plus he takes his buddy, Ian J. Bradley, with him. We were out there fishing out there in Alaska, and we had a bottle of Ian J. Bradley, and we were taking little shots. Cast our line, take another shot, and then say, oh, we have to give some to the fishing yachts. Maybe we'll catch a fish. So I'll be darned, Tony catches the fish. And I'm not kidding, he hooked that baby in, and he was working hard at it. And I was excited, I was screaming. And so then his hand cramped up, and he's going, when I can't reel it up, my arms cramped up and all this stuff. You take over, Angie. And I go, oh my God. I thought I was come out of that boat. And I started reeling in and reeling in. He's telling me, now keep the line up, keep it up, loosen it. I said, oh boy, when we're through, I'm going to have a shot of Ian J. Well, between the two of us, we caught a 30-pound king salmon. And talk about a thrill. And Dorothy, I'll never forget the memories that you have given me and your life that you have shared with us. I'll miss you, and you know, there's times when we have a hard time, and there's times I draw back to those memories, and they get me through. Thank you for the memories.
Thanks, Angie. Our next speaker is, it's me. I really intend to be pretty gentle with Dorothy today in this roasting environment. And I'll tell you exactly why. Dorothy was there in the beginning when I was first appointed as a supervisor. And she was there when I first took over the department in 1984. And so the truth is that she knows every stupid thing I've ever said, every dumb decision I've ever made, every ridiculous policy I've ever tried to implement. She knows it all. And I'm just hoping that if I'm gentle with her, she'll be a little bit gentle with me when it's her turn up here. But, I come to think of those things as stupid boss tricks that I used to perform. And I could always tell when I'd done one of these things, when I've done something really stupid. I'd come in the morning and be walking through the area, and I'd see Dorothy, and Dorothy's always greeting everybody with a bright, hello, how you doing? How was your weekend? That kind of thing. And I would say, hi, Dorothy, and she'd say, hello, Chuck. And, it wasn't exactly like Jerry Seinfeld saying, hello, Newman. But it was close enough. And I knew immediately that I'd done another stupid boss trick. And it wasn't too hard to figure out what it was. All I had to do was think about it for a minute. We used to have a tradition in our department. We used to, when somebody hit a major milestone, we'd get the whole department together and we'd present them with their pin, their award, and we'd make a little speech. And we kind of gave that up because the department got so big. But I think it was either Dorothy's 10th or maybe her 15th anniversary. We were making this presentation, and I muttered these immortal words. I said, a lot of people come to me and give me advice, but Dorothy gives me wisdom. And Dorothy really liked that. She really liked it. She really did. And after that, I got wisdom and wisdom. Probably the stupidest thing I ever said. One of those that you could frame and you could put it up on the wall with your eldest son Velvet and the dogs playing cards. Those things. But we talked a little bit tonight about Betty O's retirement party, which we celebrated for 9 consecutive years beginning in 1990. And my favorite memory of that party was one year, I can't remember which year it was, but I'd rounded up the whole Spooner clan and scrubbed the kids and put clean clothes on them and made sure that their shoes matched and their socks matched, and we were bringing desserts, and it's Saturday afternoon, and we jump in the van and drive from Carmichael out to Loomis. And as usual, I turned into the wrong driveway and went up the wrong hill and scared the heck out of Dorothy's neighbors. They waved, and I turned around, came back down, went back up the right hill, and And as we got toward the top of the hill, one of my kids says, "Gee, Dad, we're the first ones here." And I pulled into the driveway and I got out and walked around the side of the house, and there's Tony's cleaning the pool. And it's a hot day, and the sweat's just pouring down. And he says, "Hi, did you come to help?" And all of a sudden, Dorothy came out of the house, and it began to dawn on me. I'm there on Saturday, guess what? The party is on Sunday. So, this is true. This is a true story. So, the Spooner clan piled back into the van and headed back down the hill, and we ate all the dessert on the way home. Had to get more for the next day, but that's my favorite memory of Betty-O's retirement party. So, Dorothy, that was kind of gentle, and I hope that you'll keep that in mind. Because now it's time for rebuttal. It's the rebuttal portion of the program. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dorothy, who, as we all know, is a devoted wife, devoted mom, devoted friend, always been active in her community. She is just a mensch. That's a Yiddish word that means a person who does good deeds, who does the right thing, who is always there to help people. And so with that introduction, Dorothy, I hope you'll go gently on me.
I only have one bad thing to say about you, Chuck. I'll save it. With apologies to my Scottish friends, there's a Celtic, I think it's a Celtic proverb or something that says, "Hey, a gift that Laird would give us, or see ourselves as others see us." Well, I've got a glimpse of that tonight. I took a few notes. Everybody was actually quite nice. I was astonished. I thought, Chris is basically a mean person. I thought, sure, I'll get up there. And I'm surprised she didn't tell you the BJ was the one I was trying to fix up with Mary. I've made a lot of good friends at Roseville Telephone. None of them are here. It's been a really good experience, and I really appreciate all of you that came tonight, and my friends that are non-telephone people. I really appreciate you coming. And there's not much rebuttal to what was said. The stuff that was made up, everybody knew it was made up, and the true stuff, there's no defense for. So I just want to, again, thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate you coming, and let's party.
Well, that kind of concludes the roasting portion of the party, and I want to warn everybody that, or alert you, not warn you, alert you. We are going to have an open mic session when this is all wrapped up. So if you're thinking about something that you'd like to share, something you'd like to say, we'll get to the open mic part, and I'll tell you when that is. And you just come on up here and have a go. We do have a gift that we want to present to Dorothy, and to do that, we have selected a man who was Dorothy's supervisor for most of the years. Well, I don't know if most of the years, but for quite a while, he was her supervisor. And we were kind of looking back through old annual report pictures the other day, and we noticed something pretty remarkable. The longer that this man has worked for the company, the longer his forehead has become. So let's bring up Brian Herlock around here. Chris, wasn't Ryan supposed to pick up the gift?
I thought so.
Yeah, I thought
for the entertainment value. And, you know, back in the good old days when some of us had hair. What you laughing about, Fred? When some of us had hair and stuff like that, I mean, which is really a nuisance. Some of you guys, you know, there's like myself and Bob Rodriguez and Bob Jones, and, you know, a lot of us started when we were 12, you know, before we were old codgers. And Dot was like our mom, you know. And I think it was Bob that actually coined the low humor threshold, but it was so good because we could come to work here and somebody would say something. Dot was like our mom, you know. So when you would start laughing, it's like, oh, do it again, do it again. And so it gave you real value to coming to work. And so, you know, I appreciate that. You know, because work can be a drag sometimes, but Dot could make it sort of fun anyway. And so, you know, I was thinking about ways to roast Dot, so you can't do it, can't do it. But we did have a lot of fun with Dot, and hope she had a lot of fun with us too. We enjoyed it. And anyway, Dot, come on up here and
give her a hug, Ryan.
I can do that.
All right.
Come on.
You don't have to say it.
Well, the first clue is from Rover's Jewelers. Maybe they found Tony's watch. I assume this is from everybody here?
It's from Ryan.
Oh, how lovely. Oh, it's a charm bracelet with all the high points of my life, apparently. Telephone is Dorothy, Shiro, RTC, 12180 to 62599. Well, actually, it's August 7th, but. Great, that's great. Oh, it's all telephones. How cute. Thank you, everyone. And I'll be back.
Okay, boy, am I in trouble. Angie is going to be so mad at me. I was supposed to say at the beginning that there's a little camera on everybody's table, and you're supposed to shoot pictures of each other, and then we're going to share all of those with Dorothy. So it's not too late. It is not too late. Grab that camera, take those pictures, everybody. Okay. I want to take just a moment to thank the people who work so hard in organizing the party and putting this all together. And that includes, of course, Angie Thurston and Karen Williams and Chris Phipps and Tracy Butts, Debbie Kaler, Adina Sabraja. Did I say that right, Adina? I'm getting close. I'm getting better. And Mimi Longway. So thanks to all of them for helping put this on. And now it is open mic time. So any speakers out there, any aspiring speakers, whether you're a roaster or a non-roaster, come on down. We'll just leave the mic open and continue the party. Here comes Mr. Felch is coming. All right, let's hear it for Bill Felch.
If I can borrow some words from Mark Anthony, I come not to roast Dorothy, but to praise her. Well, that's kind of paraphrased. I actually had some notes. I mean, you may wonder why I showed up here in a Hawaiian shirt. Some of you may not wonder. You should say, he's a DP, that's why he shows up in such Dorothy gave me this today when she was cleaning out her cube. So I had to wear my Hawaiian shirt to go with the nice plastic flower necklace. Shortly after she left this afternoon, we were talking about Sam taking over the saying, well, he felt, somewhat confident about that. And I said, well, Sam, you the man. And Sam said, I was always the man. She was the woman. It's impossible to roast Dorothy, but I think I could roast Tony just a little bit. I've seen them together, and they're not too tall. And I figured that Tony married the first girl he found that was shorter than him and was old enough to get married. And he's quite a bit older than her, so it must have taken him quite a while. I too enjoyed going out to Betty-O's barbecues. The first year I was here, I didn't go because I didn't know who Betty-O was. But then the next year I found out it was the 4th or 5th annual, so I said, well, okay, I can go to that. But we always have a good time. And I too have enjoyed the fruits of the garden. It's been cherry season lately, and kind of at the end of the day, a little bag of cherries will appear on my desk. Everybody else in the office has had their fill. Remains lands on Bill's desk. So things have been going pretty good lately. We've socialized with Tony and Dorothy a little bit, and had them over to our house to play trivia, had gangs over, and we usually have a pretty good time. And back, I think it was in February of this year, we had one of those, and Dorothy and Tony were there. And one of the couples called, they hadn't shown up, and they called, they had called to cancel, and they said, well, we can't come, we have to go to the emergency ward, our baby fell off the bed, and she's got a bloody nose. And I said, oh, okay, well, if you get done at the emergency ward time, come on by, no problem. And so later on in the evening, we're playing Trivial Pursuit, and we come to this, we play boys versus girls, it goes a little faster that way, the boys always lose, but we have a good time anyway, and it doesn't go on and on. And one of our questions to the men's group was, what farm animal gave its life to make explosives for World War II? And so we're hemming and hawing about this thing and wondering about it. And I thought of the A-bomb, but I couldn't think of any radioactive farm animals. So then I said, oh, it's TNT. It's got to be TNT. That's what World War II explosives were made of. And what's that made of? What's TNT made of? My wife comes out with the chemical formula for TNT, just like that. It just caught me so funny. She's not a chemist or anything, She just knows all kinds of junk. and it just caught me so funny that I burst out laughing. And I'm a computer nerd, so when I burst out laughing, I'm kind of like Dilbert snort through my nose. and I got a bad nosebleed from laughing so much. And so it's running down my shirt, and I'm headed off to the kitchen to get a Kleenex and try to stop it. And Dorothy says, oh no, now we'll have to go to the emergency ward. So then I was out in the garage looking for a needle to put some stop leak in, Anyway, I've always appreciated Dorothy's sense of humor and her willingness to laugh about being short and to tell stories about herself being short. And a month or so ago, she had a real sore shoulder. She's been icing it and stuff. And she came back and she said she'd been to the doctor for a sore shoulder. She said, and the doctor asked me if I reach up above my head very much. And I said, well, I have kitchen cabinets, and the lowest shelf is above my head. One of my favorite things that Dorothy has said is just a favorite line of mine that she says when she thinks something is like totally ridiculous, just really ridiculous. She says, well, that's like giving tall lessons to BJ. So Dorothy and Tony, it's been fun. Appreciate your sense of humor, your hospitality, and all the good times we've had.
Well, again, folks, it's open mic time, and I'm just going to leave it open, and I'm going to go hit the food line. So help yourself to the microphone. Oh, here comes Russ. Hey, Russ.
I remember the first time that I met Dorothy. I didn't remember it until I was sitting over there and she said, "Let's party." Because I'm sure that's where it was. And I think it must have been at the Lehman's or one of those places. And they've been great friends ever since. Our kids have gone to school together. Mark and Todd both have gone to school with their kids, and they've been a great folks to know. And I look here and I see the other friends that we have from our little foothills residence. It's great to have shared her life at Roseville Telephone Company. And I want to tell you about one thing that we did. I thought, until tonight, I thought I was one of the only guys that had a little private lunch with Dorothy. And it happened to be right after St. Patrick's Day, and she makes the best corned beef and cabbage you've ever eaten in your life. And she brought some to work for me, and we kind of went up to the break room and sat around. People were talking and whatever, and they may still talk. We've had a great time. She's been, I never thought of Dorothy as short because she's always been very large in my eyes. I mean, she's been a mentor to me. Every committee that I've ever gotten on in Loomis, I think she said, "Russ, I think you could do this." And I think we've been, this week I've seen her more than I've seen my wife.
What's going on?
And I stopped by this afternoon to talk to the guys that work with her, and they said, "You don't have to tell the truth up here." So you'll have to decide what the truth is. But I'll tell you, she's been a great friend. Tony's been a great friend. And they're some folks that I will never forget. They've been great here at work and at home, and it's just really nice to have them as friends and almost as family. And I cannot say anything bad about it. Nothing. I know nothing bad about Dorothy. Thank you.
Really nervous. Okay, so the stories are out now. Madeline and I are here to tell you about her past and about why we believe she came to Roseville Telephone. It seems that long before she came to work for Roseville Telephone, she worked with us. And some of her early management and business training came from that. It seems that she was in the parent participation nursery school with Madeline's kids and my kids and Russ Kelly's kids, by the way. So these guys sitting right here were all a part of that. And when she was there, she learned to manage people. She learned that you could sit around in a circle, cross-legged on the floor, and sing great songs like Little Bunny Foo Foo. And I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor. That was always a favorite.
And here we sit like bumps on a cedar line.
This was our early experiences with Dorothy. And then we got to go to the turkey farm together. And when we got to the turkey farm, she discovered that she could raise her arms and thousands of turkeys would respond. Or she could make this sound and thousands of turkeys would respond. And they were just, she was so enamored with this. And it made her think perhaps she really should go back to work. And then she stood in the backyard and she watched kids go round and round and round and round on tricycles. I'm convinced that's part of the reason she went back to work.
And then there was the Kool-Aid controversy. We were all on the board of directors juice, and milk was kind of out of the question, and we thought water was too blah, so we decided on Kool-Aid with no sugar, and that was disgusting. Even the kids knew it was disgusting. But anyway, that's the kind of big management decisions that we made back in those days was Kool-Aid.
Okay. We couldn't let this time go by without something to remind her of her special time in nursery school. And we remember that one of the very favorite activities that year was finger painting with chocolate pudding. So we brought her some chocolate pudding to finger paint. And like Russ Kelly, I must tell you that I'm not done working with Dot, that we're going to continue to go on and on. By the way, the Buckley's kids were in that nursery school, too.
David, show them how to do it. David, show them how to do it. Steve, help him out.
You're popping it all.
I love the texture. Good texture. Good texture.
And the best part,
You guys, buddy Marcus is going to. It was lots of fun.
So you finally made it, will you? Yeah, I'm just. I think she would.
I have no idea where he went. Everybody else wants to speak? That's it, huh? No more views? The lovely ladies from the Loomis Nursery School.
See?
Miss Ann is here. It's Miss Ann. It's Miss Ann.
It's Miss Ann.
Extreme close-up.
Extreme close-up? Oh, okay, ready? How you like that zoom?
Doesn't move that fast.
Yeah, they were out of focus the whole time.
I didn't want to steal their stuff. I enjoyed very much. It's always better to come from home.
What? The parks are disappearing?
I am right behind Taco Bell and Arby's.
Well, you can get the Pacific Food on Rocky Road. Okay. Right on. Okay. So away from here. Yeah.
I need some cake. I need a no point cake.
Well,
0 points. Yeah,
so
right.
left on Pacific.
You want some?
Down across, I know